Podcast is for informational and educational purposes only. So what's happening, everybody?
What up?
Everybody, welcome back to another episode of Coach's Corner. We got a couple more badasses as usual in the house, but we got Austin with us, which is the face we don't see here very often. Austin, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good. I'm just kind of, coming to hang out with you guys for a bit.
Come and hang out with the plan. Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, man, we wanted to have you on for sure. We, Mike and myself, been very fortunate to be on your channel there with Eric a few times. So it's definitely cool to have you come hop on with us. And we're a little bit different where there's no agenda, not much notes written, just kind of go with the fly, and see how good we can put together a little bit of an amusing show. But it's nonetheless, I wanted to give everyone your introduction and just kind of see if you could give us a minute, tell us a little bit about yourself for those that don't know Austin. And actually, you're kind of moving into the coaching field a little bit more aggressively right now. I didn't know if you want to give everybody kind of a rundown of what your game plans are with your channel and all that.
Yeah. In terms of hi guys. I have a direction, I'm loosely going with just following my interest, and it's kind of as it arises a little bit. I've been in this space since 2022 2022 actually. And I've just kind of been doing my own thing. I really like doing experiments more than anything. Like I'm kind of a, citizen scientist, I guess you could say, at heart. Like I just do it for my curiosity basically, and bodybuilding was like the most extreme testing ground to like work this stuff. And so inadvertently, when you have skills in something, like a set of skills of any type, makes sense to be a coach to some degree, but I've, in terms of like a direction and a pursuit, I like the kind of like complex things and just like one-offs, because there will be people who have had so much more experience than me when it comes to like, preps and competitors and all that. I'm like kind of like the, I do the goofy stuff that appeals to me, like, test this thing and make myself sick with it and see what are all the questions people want to know that people don't have an answer to. So I'm going to test it.
Yeah. Well, two things. It's funny that by default, that makes you kind of a little bit of a coach, whether you realize it or not, because we are kind of problem solvers. Jackie's
Right.
Coach Karina said it to me one time, and we were just talking about kind of the field that we work in there. And she's a coach I look up to quite a bit on many different aspects. But one of her outlooks is you don't really got to be a rocket scientist at a lot of things here. You need to have a good understanding of things, of course, when you're messing with people's health and their goals and their efforts and time. But problem solving is something that's huge. And that's something that you're very good at, and you actually kind of pursue, is having these problems and trying to figure out why they work that way, what, how we got to this point and how to fix it, so.
Yeah, it's
And
like a flow.
you mentioned like experiments, and you're the guy that's doing experiments purposefully, where we call those mistakes growing up, right, Mike? All the mistakes we kind of made is our experiments,
Right. Yeah, you kind of sometimes, try to do not always the best thing. Like you sometimes try to do what people say is wrong and see like maybe there's something to it, Like, is it wrong? Let's see.
Right. Yeah, well,
So
that's how you learn. I mean, you got to pull from something, and sometimes these unique problems that you come across as a coach are just kind of your own learning grounds. Like, I really wouldn't have known, like, talking about something basic, like just like crushing my estrogen so close to a show or having it run sky high. If I didn't run across that mistake accidentally, I really wouldn't kind of know what it felt like, how to kind of dig myself out of it, how to help others down the road. And I might not have dove into it with as much passion because, and once it happens to you, you really get your focus on the problem. So it's funny because not all of us try to go for those things, but I've seen some of your experiments, and you try to put yourself in a tough spot and see how you can work your way out of it,
yeah, that's part of it. The E2 thing, like you just said, that's one of the things I've messed with. I'm kind of still undecided on that. Like, it kind of can go both ways. I've seen both things. It's kind of finicky. It's like hard to do an experiment with some of those stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, what is it that are you looking to do more competitor work, like actually prepping people for the stage, or is it more kind of like hormonal coaching, in the sense of HRT and TRTs, or, without as much diet involved, or what's kind of the outlook of what you're trying to focus on mainly?
Just going one step at a time, because of like I have been guilty of I've promised people more than I could deliver. So I don't want to be doing that. But if I take that on, like, I know I have skills in that from having done it and done it myself and worked people through it, so I've got some sample size, I've got a procedure, and I've got the knowledge behind it. So
Yeah.
what I've kind of been known for more so in the coaching field is these rare cases of people with unfixable issues, like, who they've made the rounds and gone to see various people who they've thought they should reach out to, and like people who after a contest prep or after a show didn't have any libido return and had like chronic, almost like post-finasteride syndrome like symptoms. There was this one kid who was 23. He hadn't had an erection in a year and a half, like seriously. And it was after he took letrozole for a contest, and like I think he overdid it, or just he didn't bounce back like normal. And I worked with him for a little while, and now he owes me $1 million. Let's put it that way. I'm just kidding, but he's better now. So
Right. Yeah, well, that's cool, man. I think you're gonna. I'm excited to see, some of the things that come your way. You're quite the problem solver. I've worked a little bit with you. When Jackie kind of got her HRT going down the road, and you got a really cool way of thinking outside the box. You're not really stuck to these teachings and like believe everything word for word on paper. You seem to be a fan of backing things up and not being shy to try new things, which is just huge. Like, once we get kind of limited to our thought process, we're kind of done innovating. We're kind of done finding the next new thing. You know what I mean? So I think it's important. I think the way you think is refreshing. You know what I mean? The way you approach problems, for sure.
Thank you.
Yeah, no,
Thank
absolutely.
you.
And we need more of that. We need more people kind of learning and finding new things than just kind of regurgitating what's been passed down, the can that's been kicked down the road to everybody, and not questioning things. You know what I mean?
I think tradition and expertise has its place, because when somebody's on a prep or in a situation, like, you're trying to win or get a certain result, like, you're results driven rather than just curiosity driven. So like, if I think people sort themselves naturally in that way, because people know what works, and those people, I'm not saying that I'm a replacement to them by any means, like that. People with tons more experience than me in terms of like working with this person over and over and this many people, there will be people who will be better than me.
Yeah. Josh here calls it, is it the $1 million boner? Did you solve that problem?
He says he owes me. I'm holding him to it.
Coming to theaters. Yeah. Good. Well, that's cool, man. I'm excited. And anything we can do for you, you got a good group around you that support you for sure. So I'm excited to see where this heads and work along with you and learn, for sure. But
yeah, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, Tanya, I wanted to get a update from, what are we, 3? Is it 3 weeks? I know I bet Josh has it down to the hour in the comments.
2.5.
2.5. And how are you feeling?
Hungry.
Yeah, hungry now. Yeah. All right. I know you're always hungry. You got a healthy appetite, but are you?
I'm always hungry.
From meal to meal at this point.
Yeah, it's to the point where like my body is definitely just tired, hungry. Like it's not like stomach growling hunger all day. It's just like running on fumes most of the time. I feel the best when I'm training. It's really the only time I feel normal, and that doesn't mean I'm good going into training. I still feel going into training like I have zero energy for it, but then I end up still progressing. Like I really haven't lost strength on anything except one movement up until now. So still progressing in the gym, not hitting a wall or anything. Just the rest of the day, I have very little to give.
Yeah. Jackie's, well, for those who don't know, Jackie's also in prep too. And what are you at, hon?
Friday will be 5 weeks out, 6 weeks out. Oh my gosh, I just forgot.
Yeah.
I have to rethink of how many weeks out it is every single week.
Oh my God. I know I already screwed up earlier.
That's a symptom of prep brain.
Yeah.
My prep brain is, I always have prep brain, so.
Hold on.
But she was,
I'll be 6 weeks out
on Friday. Yeah. But you were mentioning the same thing. You're getting a couple movements kind of moving, not moving the weight as easily or kind of not losing strength, but you're progressing, it's tougher lifts.
Every single prep I do, there's always like 1 or 2 weeks where my strength kind of declines a little bit, but like once my body readjusts, it's normal again. But like, I just definitely, I'm running on steams during training. I have really great energy though throughout the day, and it's basically just like I have good energy going into the gym, but as soon as I'm starting to push some weight, I just like can feel it, in the muscle, how fatigued it is. Mm. So
yeah, it's exactly the other way around for me, I guess. It's a lot of just like my brain just not having energy, because like my brain kind of suffers for energy a lot anyway, just because it's so active and so doing stuff all the time that any little extra is like, okay, we have nothing left. Yeah. So it's like training is the one time where I don't have to involve my brain that much and I can just use my body. But I think that's where it separates people who are going to be successful in prep or not, is just like pushing yourself anyway, even though it feels harder. Like your body can probably do the same thing, if not continue to do more. It's just about pushing through that kind of suffering point that a lot of people can't do.
Yeah. Very true. Now, what about like recovery time? That's me. Like my scenario is I always have my strength. I feel like pushing movements definitely are kind of the first ones to get iffy on my strength. I never really have to dial back volume. I never really have to like alter my training, even though I usually kind of get rid of intensifiers to a point, like the unsafe ones for prep. Like I'm not going to be doing like 6 to 8 rep range kind of stuff. But the things I'll keep in are kind of higher volume, like maybe an FST 7 set or like a Widowmaker set that I might have programmed in. I'll keep it there. But my biggest setback is my recovery time just starts to expand. Like where I'd be fine from a back day in 2 days, now I'm on the edge of like where the second back day of the week comes around, it's like down to the minute as I get closer to stage time, where I'm like, all right, I finally got recovered, or maybe I have to actually think about, should I pull volume back a little bit or find a way to kind of recover better? Do you ever run into that, Tanya? Like recovery aspects right now?
So my volume is managed really, really well by my coach. Like, we didn't change it a whole lot up until maybe a few weeks ago. I did get a reduction in mainly my first leg day, like my quad training volume. We took down some volume on there. And that really made a big difference because that was the toughest session anyway. Now it's a lot, it's not easy to get through. It's still the hardest day of the week, but it's a lot easier to stomach for sure with a little bit less volume in there. And a thing that we do that I've really been liking is actually using intensifiers to manage fatigue. And let me explain that. So instead of, say, 3 straight sets on the hack squat, which is what I was doing, turn that into a drop set where it's just one drop set. So then that way you're not getting as much volume, but you're getting the same effective reps and the same intensity without quite so much volume to fatigue you. And I have the same on, like, I've always had a lot of, like, you know, beyond failure partials on my sets of back and stuff like that. So like instead of more sets or instead of as many sets as before, I would just have sets with that at the end so that I'll get more stimulus without adding more sets or without having as many sets. So I actually like using intensifiers strategically to replace more fatiguing volume.
Yeah. What are your favorites? What do you like to go to for intensifiers?
Either like I said, the drop sets or the just doing partials until you can barely move after you get failure on the full ROM, especially on back movements, because there's so much more you can get once you can't get all the way down here, right? Like I can still get 8 or 10 more reps in this range of motion until I'm barely moving.
Even with one, like, because I was going to ask that. Yeah.
And I like Myo-Rep sets a lot, or cluster sets, whatever you want to call them. I think they're the same fucking thing. I think people are just pedantic about it. You know, like do the set, and like I have that on a lot of my shoulder stuff, especially. Like I'll do one like regular straight set of however many reps, you know, whether it's 8 to 12, 12 to 20. I have a lot more like 12 to 20 type of sets right now. And then rest for 5 breaths or so, get as many more reps as I can, maybe some partials at the end of that as well, rest a few breaths, and do that 3 or 4 times instead of, you know, 3 or 4 full drawn out sets.
Yeah.
How about isolateral, unilateral, or what is that? Yeah.
Bilateral, unilateral.
Yeah. One at a time versus 2 at a time.
Yeah, I've had I have a mix of both, and I kind of always have. I like,
that's an intensifier for me, so that's why I was wondering.
Oh, really? Okay. Yeah, I'll have a mix of both. It's not really used as an intensifier per se, but a lot of my like cable shoulder work obviously is single arm. I do have a good amount of single arm lat stuff because we're trying to bring up my lats. I think single arm is really good for when you're trying to bring up your lats, especially.
Okay, yeah. That's kind of how I think of it, as like an intensifier, because I will build like the exercise that I know is like going to target what I want. Like I try to make it a one arm thing, and I get my volume. And like for my back, if it's like overall back, you know, there would be too much time spent potentially if everything was done one at a time. But like, you know, say it's just like mid high to low row, like, or something like that, to kind of make my lats better. My lats are uneven as hell. I had a surgery, so like I have to kind of focus on one more at a time, but this applies to everyone, even if you're not uneven.
Yeah. And single arm is really great because you can put more force through one-sided muscle, like one side at a time, than you could through each of those muscles if you're doing both at the same time.
It's it. Yeah, that's why I'm like doing that. It's because like I'm getting as much as I can in the volume out of 2, because like it's more time intensive to do everything one arm at a time. But at the same time, you can't get as much force with 2. So
yeah, I'm fortunate in that I don't really have time restrictions on my training. Like I can kind of spend as long as I want. Of course, I don't want to be in there longer than I need to, but if I've got a bunch of single arm stuff and I feel like, you know, single-sided stuff is more effective for, so I have no problem in spending more time with that. Just I don't have to like get in and get out in 45 minutes because I got to get back to work. You know, like I work from home mostly. Like I have 2 shifts at the gym a week, so those are really the only days I have to kind of limit my time a little bit. But that's just down to getting in the gym early enough. It's not that I only have so much time to train.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned cluster sets. And it's funny, one of my clients, Mark, he calls them Myo-Reps. I call them cluster sets. We bicker about it all the time. But the the whole idea of getting more out of your movement is the intensifier part, right? So instead of taking a straight set, let's just say as a goal of 10 reps, and you have 2 sets to do, now you can straight set those back to back with proper rest, or you can cluster them together. That alone is an intensifier in my book. right?
Mhm.
Because we're pulling out a rest factor. And
Yeah.
so that's making it more difficult. And even if that means you're doing 10, 4, 2, and then 1 at a time, it really doesn't matter. Whatever it takes, or if you want to cluster them in 5s, that's
Mhm.
fine. But it's kind of self-regulating, right? Because like you get to the point where you're taking enough time between these cluster sets, these little mini sets within a set, where it's self-regulating for safety, but it's also still like you're pushing yourself because I don't want to take too long and
Yeah.
make this like a forever set. I don't want to do 1, take a break for 5 seconds, 1. So it's kind of like a self-regulating thing. I try to use those if need be, like it, because then I'm still driving intensity through volume rather than through load intensity. So there's kind of a few wins you can get for people on prep where we're getting good intensity, we're upholding good training without actually adding more, not taking anything away. We're just altering it. And then we're not adding more weight. I'm not really forcing Tanya to say, Tanya, look, the logbook's the logbook. We're 4 weeks up. Come on. Like that's a stupid move, though. The smart move is to say, how can we keep this safe? Get all of our money's worth out of this movement and just get it done. We have 20 reps we want to get. And I trust your intensity. I trust that you're going to push it to the level it needs to be. So I try to get people to be able to, on the advanced end, get 1 or 2 intensifiers that we can use safely that are just bread and butter for prep. And clusters, I think, are one that's just really covers all bases.
Yeah, and that's something that I don't like. I won't program any type of intensifier techniques for clients unless I trust them to be mature and controlled and composed in their training. Like if they already can't do that with straight sets, you're not getting partials, you're not getting drop sets, you're not getting cluster sets, because you're just going to use that as an excuse to muscle fuck the weights.
Yeah. It happens every time. Yeah.
Yeah.
What about you, Mike? What do you, when things get tough in prep, is it kind of like strength that drops off, or is it recovery, or is it kind of like all the other things? Like I've heard a lot of people like everything's fine, but sleep drops off, which is part of rest. But you know what I mean? Like that specific factor. What's your, everyone's got one.
Yeah, I have to watch that I don't injure myself in the gym. Like I when I was getting ready for the Emerald Cup last year, I think about 6 weeks out or 8 weeks out, I decided to put away the logbook.
Yeah.
Because I get obsessed on that number, and I have to do better in 1 more rep or 1 more set or 5 more pounds or whatever the case might be. And then I'm putting myself in a place where I'm at risk for injury. And so I put that logbook away. I didn't pull it back out again until progress season. So that's definitely a thing for me. When you start getting more like joint pain and stuff, that slows you down in the gym. Yeah. And I'm of an age where my joints fail faster than my muscles do. So that's always an issue. But I've been pretty lucky, man. My strength and my stamina have held up pretty good all last year anyway. And it helps to be doing it right, because I have had preps that didn't go that well. So.
Yeah. I think it's some people got to think ahead of time. Like I like rolling with the punches in prep when it comes to like having a game plan of training, because I try not to make big adjustments. So let's say Austin's my client, and I've got 5 intensifiers throughout the entire week. That's it. Like maybe he's got 1 high intensity or like hit or progressive overload, a 6 to 8 rep, like a real heavy set we're going to do on legs. I might pull those things out, like the heavy, kind of more dangerous, let's call it, sets or intensifiers right off the bat, and then just start going with the flow and just getting his biofeedback, looking at his numbers if we're tracking a few, and start kind of evaluating, like, is this beneficial, or is these extra intensifiers making him deplete his strength quicker than I would expect? So there's like so many different things. People got to go with the flow, but having some game plan of saying we're going to start making things simpler rather than starting like prep and then making things more difficult or more cutesy is, I think, a really smart thing to do. And that's kind of like my Jackie and I's basic approach to training is just keeping things simple, where even on a tough day, we can find a way to get the volume done, if that makes sense. The volume of training. Because what do you do with people that can't push intensity? To be honest, I know it sounds maybe rude to some people if they look at their training with me, but if I don't think you can push the intensity I need on the loads, I do death by paper cut. I just load you up with volume, lots of volume, until you prove me otherwise.
Hey, I mean, that's why as people get, more advanced in training, they usually end up doing less volume because they now know how to train harder.
Yeah.
We're prime examples of that.
Yeah.
Me too. Me too.
Really what it's
something
come
you
down.
gotta figure out too. You got to figure out strategically, like a procedure for it. Having a coach who's going to know how to find it for you. You need experience to do it too. But like me, I can't add any intensifiers. That's sort of like, for me, an intensifier is doing 2 arms at a time and then 1, because I couldn't keep up with the frequency. If that's the case, if I add too much, my strength will drop pretty quick. Yeah.
Well, you got to have some plan, because being in a position where you don't feel like you have your strength and you don't feel like you can complete your volume the way it is, and you're like, I have to just leave the gym, is not a good place to be when you're 4 weeks out, when you're 5 weeks out. So having some meat on the bone that you can get rid of, I guess, is kind of nice, or you can, some expense you can kind of get rid of. And for me, it's just, keeping it simple. So that's my 2-cent advice for the day for people is, in prep, when it comes to training, simpler is almost always going to be better.
And if you have a coach, you have to be honest about how you're feeling. If you're gassing out and hitting a wall halfway through every single session, don't play tough and just say, it's hard, but it's fine, and not say anything about it, because you're going to run yourself into the ground and your coach is going to have no idea. Like, I just, like, my client that I'm prepping for the same show that I'm doing here in 2.5 weeks, he just told me in his check-in this week that he's gassing out like halfway through every session. Like, at first he said, I'm gassing out through my training sessions a lot of the time. And I'm like, okay, which sessions specifically are the hardest? Or are you gassing out on all of them? And he said basically all of them. So I went through his whole training program, condensed some stuff, gave him a few, intensifiers like I was talking about before in place of straight sets, removed a couple of compound movements, and just lowered the volume across the board. And I said, thank you for your honesty, because, he's historically a very tough guy, like thinks everything should be tough, doesn't complain about anything. I'm like, if it feels like this, you need to tell me. So thank you for being honest, because otherwise we would have run you into the ground over the next week and a half and had no idea.
Yeah.
So when you say gassing out, you mean like the accumulation of systemic fatigue early on in the workout?
Yeah, like he's just hitting a wall like 45 minutes in and can barely make it through the rest with any intensity. Yeah.
And that's the first thing, right? Because you do get like almost a cardiovascular gassed out too. Like after a point, you're just kind of moving along, not fully recovered. So like then that's playing into your ability to recover cardiovascularly and then actually muscularly to get a good output on your training. And then you're just starting to basically move backwards.
And a lot of that has to do with your lifestyle outside of training too. Like if you have a high stress life, if you're not sleeping that great, I mean, that's going to take from your recovery a whole lot sooner. And like, that's why I haven't really had to have a whole lot of changes to my training, and I'm not gassing out halfway through any of my sessions. Like I have the gas to make it through my sessions and still keep progressing, because I am insane about my recovery outside of the gym.
Yeah. Huge.
Sure.
Yeah. It's funny, everything comes down to getting feedback, because like I'm just thinking of like, tell me if you're gassing out. It's so necessary to know, to have an adjustment ability, to pull a lever and change it.
Mike, was there something you were going to hit on that?
Yeah, sorry.
Oh, shoot. Yeah, I think I forgot.
It's all right.
It'll come back.
It'll pop back in my head in a minute.
But actually, that reminds me. That's a good segue into what I wanted to bitch and complain about to my friends here.
I love bitching and complaining with my friends.
Me too. Sometimes you just got to let it out, right? You just got to let it go.
Today has been just a nonstop. This is the first time I've just sat down and been present today. So,
okay. So you're a good listening partner.
Yes.
Like so on the topic of communication, right? So this is the bridge, the segue is communication. I'm, without sharing names, And anyone that knows me as a coach knows that I try to keep things somewhat, I keep things private. When you hire me, I'm not going to go, it's your program. This is your goals. They stay that way.
As you should.
As you should. But there are similarities that can be shared in teaching lessons for everyone else on the team and anyone else that comes our way, or just you and your coach down the road. So I kind of had we'll just call it a negative experience where we had to drop a client that we've been working with for, let's just say under a year, but not brand new. We have some months involved. And communication was our problem. That was my biggest shtick in the scenario, was poor communication. And nonetheless, we kind of jumped into a prep with this person as well as their significant other and their experience. This isn't their first go around, but I ended up having to let them go. And because of one of the partners in the relationship was just, again, poor communication. And what I'm trying to get around to is that this isn't one of those tell me if I'm the asshole or not scenario, because I know I wasn't in the wrong, but I very rarely get rid of people. There's usually like a level of communication you have to have as a coach, plain and simple. I can't be a mute, and I can't be someone who just doesn't listen. I have to be able to take in information. I have to understand that Tanya's life is different from Mike's, Jackie's, and Austin, and this one and that one. Everyone's different. And that's actually a skill that I had to develop. It wasn't like it certainly wasn't my specialty, was dealing with people from all different walks of life, all different kinds of scenarios. Because, I kind of just grew up in a blue collar scenario where we all had the same jobs, and we all kind of had the same interests. And my peers were all very similar. So anyways, I ended up having to get rid of this person. And the reason I kind of want to share it is just show how simple a breakdown of communication can lead to just no program and no progress and just no moving forward. And we got to the point where I had to audit one of our clients on prep and just say to them, hey, look, something's going on with your progress here. And I'm not upset about your progress that's kind of stalled here. It's just that it's been 5 or 6 weeks with no progress. And I've made some drastic diet changes. We pretty much bottomed out on diet. We pretty much bottomed out on cardio at this point, like halfway through a prep that's acceptable in my book. Just over an hour, but under an hour and a half, I want to say. And nothing changed. 6 weeks, no changes on the scale. They never got hungrier. All the metrics were, I'm recovering perfect. And anyways, I said to the person, I go, look, this check-in, we have to just do an audit. And a lot of these questions I'm going to send you is a questionnaire. Might sound a little silly, but it's okay because I have to get the answer. And I have to ask because I'll be the stupid one if I don't ask a very silly standard question. I didn't hear from that client they checked on a Saturday. I didn't hear from them until like a Wednesday, I think. And I reached out every single day, say, hey, we're on prep. I need communication. I need these questions back with some answers. And it took Jackie actually having to reach out to get this person because I said, Jackie, why don't you reach out? Maybe they don't like Dave right now. They don't want to hear anymore from coach number one. So she said, yeah, I'll communicate with them. She got got her answer back from the girl saying that they are not interested in answering such a silly questionnaire, basically, of ours. So I didn't
that would be an immediate, we gotta.
Yeah, so at that point, when we're in this group message, I go, well, you're talking to her, but won't talk to me, which it doesn't bother me. I mean, there's a lot of times where we coach somebody and they might gravitate towards Jackie more or gravitate more towards myself or whatever. That's part of it. But what I'm getting around to was that was just like an obvious sign of no communication. They're thinking they're in control. They're thinking that they're going to do only what they feel like doing and only pay for the services they feel like paying for, when the reality is this is a two-way street. I have to work too. You're not my only client. We have 60 plus clients that I have to deal with. So it got to the point where I had to just drop them and say, hey, this is poor communication. This isn't going to work for us. And then telling me that you won't answer a simple questionnaire because you think the questions are silly. If they're silly, then they're all no's. they're one word answers.
Mhm.
You know, because I'm just asking, are we using chicken thighs instead of chicken breast? Basic things. So it's happened me kind of letting that out, because it kind of bothered me that it's just like, man, you're trying to do everything as a coach and just build this communication and have a relationship with people and just say, hey, whatever the reason is, it's mistakes happen sometimes to nobody's fault. Like, it's really, you know, you make a basic mistake, it's a learning lesson. You might not have known, but now you know once, and we fix the problem, we move on. And it's happened many of times. I've had people where they're eyeballing olive oil in their frying pan, and those calories add up. And that was my 1 pound of progress I was trying to go for fat loss or something. Simple fixes, simple catches, but no hurt, nobody gets hurt feelings about it. So just giving people kind of the lesson I learned from that is that you can do everything right and try to build all the good communication skills and still get nowhere. And sometimes that these relationships are just not meant to be. So it's not always the fancy coach with the fancy background, the fancy degree, the 30 years of doing things. It's usually sometimes comes down to step one of getting a good coaching scenario and coach an athlete relationship is communication, regardless, and just being able to talk to them. Because it's like you just said, Tanya, being open with your coach, good or bad, is so huge. And I have best relationships and best progress with people that can tell me anything, even if it's kind of
100%.
embarrassing. You know, even if it's like, yeah, you got mud on your face, you should have known better. Then
The best clients I have and the longest term clients and the clients that do the best are the ones who send me paragraphs in their check-ins. They tell me everything. And like I've probably spoken about this before, but I have a coach client communication contract that now everybody gets along with their normal standard legal waiver when they sign up and onboard with me. And it just goes through, hey, coaching is not a product. It is a service. And my service to you only depends on you communicating with me in the good and the bad stuff. I'm not here to parent you. I'm not going to punish you or be mad at you or upset with you if you mess up. You need to tell me that so that I can coach you, because I'm not here only for everything is great. Otherwise, you wouldn't have hired me. I'm here to help you through the things that are not great, including when you slip up, when you make mistakes, when there's extra stress in your life. Do not ghost me and leave me wondering what happened. Was it me? Was it you? Did I do something wrong for a month and a half straight? Check in, tell me what happened. And they sign that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I guess I wanted to share it half just so people realize like how important communication was. I literally was left in a spot where I couldn't do anything.
Yeah, if they don't give you anything, it's like, you know, I think we all have this, like we've got that percentage of clients that you really never hear from. And it's like you feel bad taking their money, but they keep paying, and it's like, if you're not sending me the check-ins, like that's when I pay attention to you. Like I can't pay attention to everybody every day. You remind me that you exist and your problems exist and all these things I need to attend to for you exist when you check in. That's your time. That's when I focus on this person and go in, solve the problem, see what's going on, make the changes, communicate with you. If you're not having those check-in points, I can't do any work for you.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people have this weird idea of coaching, like they don't really understand what it is, and they think that the result comes from signing up and paying a coach and getting the initial program. That's an educated guess, the initial program that I give you. The coaching and the change happens week to week in the check-ins and the months and months accumulated over time of responding back and forth. It's like a volley back and forth. That's where the coaching is. And it's surprisingly difficult to get people to understand that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and trust is also a massive part of it too. I mean, in that scenario, trust was broken too, because we found out that things that person was adding in, like supplementation and stuff too, and we had no idea. Right there, that just breaks the trust. It's like, how am I supposed to trust that you're doing anything I'm telling you to do now?
Yeah, like if you want to a la carte your coaching service and you only want like guidance for this and this piece from a coach, that's what one-time consultations are for.
Right.
Like if you just want to talk about this one thing or these couple of things and you don't want to listen to anything else or have guidance or have any eyes on anything else, book a consult every few months. That's it. That's what that's for.
What do you
I think often enough, like, you know, we get communication is a two-way street, right? And you know, the way we respond to things that people have to say to us has a lot to do with how willing and forthcoming they're going to be with communication too, right? So if our response is aggressive in any way, and especially when it comes to like coaching, you're really trying to bring out the best in somebody. Like, people will never forget the way you make them feel. And if you say something that's, maybe even not even, it could be aggressive, but this is the emotional intelligence piece, right? And you say something that could be just a little off-putting to them, that make them feel a certain way. And then they don't want to be forthcoming with information. So, a lot of it is just being the kind of person that they can talk to and like just say whatever to. And, it sounds a little limp-wristed to say, that they don't feel judged or attacked, or, you're the kind of guy that they can come to and say, look, hey, I made a mistake. I had this thing, went to a party and had to eat this dip or whatever. It's like, shit happens, how do we, make sure you don't deal with that craving or temptation moving forward. And where it's like, what, did we do all this work and you go and just eat dip? Like, what the fuck's wrong with you? Like, he's not going to want to come see.
Yeah. No, that's perfect. Because you got to set up an environment that stays consistent with it's okay to talk to me. And if I ruin that, like through the example you just said, being all over your ass about something that just needs a basic explanation into like what I'm thinking, sharing from coach to athlete, that's the healthier way to do it. That's probably going to be actually put it this way, that's going to be the most productive way to have a discussion.
Yeah.
In the end, I just feel like I shouldn't have to chase you down to do my job. And that's what's rough.
Most of these things aren't going to crash the car either, right? Like, you're just like, oh, well, I just need to know those things so that I can make adjustments for it otherwise, or that I can, understand the behavior to help you going forward, especially when you're dealing with a contest prep, right? Like, if I don't know that you're eating 16 grams more saturated fat every day than I thought you were because you're eating this type of chicken over this type of chicken, then how can I help you get the finished product that you're going to get, right? It's like, if we were like, I really have to have this dark meat chicken because I can't do the breast all day long or whatever. Like, okay, so maybe we take a beef meal out, maybe we adjust some saturated fats somewhere else so that you can have this, chicken breast, or, it doesn't have to be a total game wrecker.
Yeah, that's a big thing I emphasize with my clients is I'm not going to make you do almost anything any particular way. Like, it's going to be whatever way works for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
And a good coach wouldn't, right? And we hear these guys, these talking heads on YouTube all the time. No, this is the only way. You have to do X, Y, and Z, and you have to do daily injections, and you have to do it's what works for you. But being a good coach isn't about what works for you. Being a good coach is about finding out what works for the people that you're working with. And
and I'm all about like getting things as optimal as possible. Like, I love that. Like, for myself, I'm going to do that all day, but I don't expect my clients to have that same standard of operation because so far, absolutely none of them have. Right.
Yeah.
So like, I don't expect that. And it's just like, yes, we could push all the way to this end of everything being excellent, but there's a whole spectrum of being effective in between there. We don't have to be all the way over here. We can slowly work our way closer to it, but only as far as you're able to go practically. And that's fine because chances are that is way better than you were back here before you came to me.
Yeah. Were you going to say something, Austin, about that?
Oh yeah, the more info we get, like you're paying me for the amount of contact that I can have with what you're doing at a distance, so the more access points you give me, the more I'm going to be willing to do it potentially, so it's kind of like there's a lot of places where their influence and improvements can be held, and they're often not even obvious to people. So like the client, it's not obvious to always. So it's just, it's a balance, because how do you know what is stuff that I need to know? Like, and then you're sifting through a bunch of emails and messages that are hard to keep up with. which is another problem sometimes if it's irrelevant stuff in there. But yeah, everyone's going to find their own balance.
Well, it's a superpower, right? You want to give us a enhancement in our coaching is good communication, for sure. You know, you having technical difficulties over there?
I always am.
What is happening?
What is happening? Is that happening to anyone else?
I can see it.
Yeah. Just click inside your screen
Oh
somewhere.
my God. Who's that?
That was me. I don't know why it rang on my laptop is
Still doing that.
Yeah.
Let me see if that helps for a minute. Jesus.
Everybody's electronics are having a seizure right now.
No, she's having a poltergeist scenario over
Dude, that
here.
was so weird. My screen just kept moving like this.
Yeah.
I'm
If
like,
anyone
okay.
can't tell, we're close to each other. Let's see if we can even see my hand.
I see right
Okay, close enough.
But yeah, at the end of the day, you know, we didn't even figure anything out with that person. You know, we let it go as is. But at the end of the day, we're just trying to get to the bottom of if there was a slip up, let's try to fix that slip up.
Yeah.
And if it's not anything that you're doing, well, you probably have to get checked out by your doctor. It's kind of out of our hands at that point where it's something that needs to be, you know.
Well, that's what had me worried too, is that there's you know, I wasn't going to share that part, but you know, if you start taking something and don't tell your coach, they're going to drop you. Plain and simple. If you start taking a compound and you don't tell me, it's the fast track to just we can't move forward any longer. And it's basically just like you say, you know, if I don't know what's going on, maybe that compound could be the reason why we're holding weight, or the opposite, you know, scenario. We're dropping weight when we don't want to. And then there's a health factor. Like, I want to be able to monitor your health to a point. I don't want to control it. I don't want to be your doctor, because I'm not. But I want to be a guide and a piece of advice for you side by side, saying, here's my honest thought of what's going on. You know, hey, Tanya, why don't you check this out? This is what I kind of saw on your feedback. I don't think you realize that your sleep is worse than you think so, or whatever it is. There's got to be that good communication. And I mean, at the end of the day, it could be a simple fix, or it could be like, hey, this is glad I asked, because maybe there's a bigger problem we need to dive into, and it's a good way to catch things. So, you know, I guess the advice I would tell people is just don't be Tanya, you said it perfect. Just like, be honest and truthful, and have no shame in telling your coach. You know, I know more about people's bowel movements than their parents probably ever did.
I know. Right?
You know, at this point, and there's some intimate things that it's like, Tanya, you said you come up with great. I remember all these, like, your personal health is personal. It's something you have to kind of be okay with somewhat sharing. It is nitty gritty. It is kind of, you have to be okay with sharing your personal things to a point. And that's
somebody that I had a call with yesterday, who I actually ended up onboarding today, who signed up with me. She started with, this is probably going to be TMI, and she just went on to explain a heavy period in her past. And I'm like, that's not even close to TMI in my world.
Yeah.
That's lunch table conversation in my world.
Yeah.
Josh goes, Dave is bad cop, Jackie's good cop.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
It's usually the other way around. That's for sure.
It really depends on person to person,
Yeah.
the relationship, you know.
Dave's like mall cop, and Jackie's like RoboCop sometimes. Rules are rules.
So funny.
Nonetheless. Hey, I want to get you guys' Josh pointed something out to me that I figured would be a fun thing to hit on. Was have any of you guys heard of the enhanced games, the like enhanced Olympics?
You mean the Olympics?
You mean the Olympics? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
The Olympics.
he was kind of telling me, and I didn't look into it. I don't really know the reasons why. Maybe Josh can give us some, if he's still listening, some a little more in the comments about it. But he was telling me that in these enhanced games, there's some compounds that are still a no-no, that are still being not allowed, I guess you say. So I'm curious, maybe they're going to test for it, or they're going to do, lie detectors or whatnot. But one of them happened to be Mastron. which we're all quite familiar with. And it actually stumped me. I was sitting there going, well, out of everything that we have in our toolbox that we know as bodybuilders, from hormones to performance enhancing drugs, because not all of them are hormones, of course, obviously there's stuff that's we're using that's different kind of off-label use. But of Masteron, I was just like, I couldn't really actually see the advantage of that for an athlete to use
Josh
it anyway.
Josh just gave a
was gonna say
potential
that.
answer.
Masteron not approved for human use or medical management per Mitchell Cooper.
So are they only allowing enhancements that are approved for medical use then? Because if that's the case, this is not going to be a very exciting Olympics.
Yeah, there's only 3.
Well, I wonder if it's stuff that was ever approved and then maybe pulled, because I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, but we're not still using Anadrol for any medical purpose that I believe. I mean, Austin, this is up your realm of what's being used in the medical fields and not, but like Anadrol, what do you?
Apparently, yes. Apparently it is, and apparently D-ball has been, and Primo. I don't know. I don't have my finger on the pulse on it, but I have seen them be prescribed in the past. So, but yeah, I didn't think they were widely in use either. I don't think you're going to get one to be prescribed, but compounding pharmacies have them, or have had them rather.
So
what about Anavar? Because that was pulled, wasn't it? And imagine they're not going to use Anavar.
One of them was.
When I last checked, it was compounded. Okay. So there are places who have it. I don't know how present day right now, but like within the last several months when I last checked.
According to Google, Anadrol is still FDA approved.
Yep.
Okay.
Cool.
And also, according to Google, it says the enhanced games plan to allow most performance-enhancing drugs and substances typically banned by WADA, provide they're legally prescribed and taken at a safe level, monitored by medical professionals. Permitted substances include anabolic steroids, testosterone, which is an anabolic steroid, and growth hormones, with a focus on FDA-approved substances to ensure athlete safety.
Yeah,
good enough to not get sued, basically.
If that matters.
Bongo's the other good one. What about Tren? I mean, we're not cattle. That wasn't approved. Huh.
Yeah.
I'm just interested to see how that plays out, because, I look at it like, I see why they said that, Tanya. It's like it has to be medically approved at, quote unquote, acceptable dosages or reason, good rationale for using these drugs. But at the end of the day, if it's no rules and no compounds are against the books, I mean, that's the way I look at it. Like, if it's an enhanced game, it's enhanced. It's what can you get your hands on? We want to see the free. Like, that's the whole point. I'm tuning in to see if someone can break a 100-year-old record because they just got off their couch and decided to hit 200 milligrams of Winstrol.
So they're gonna have the enhanced games, which is only a handful of things that are allowed to be used, versus the regular Olympics, where they're using pretty much whatever they want as long as they're smart enough to get around the testing. Is it really going to be that much more impressive or different?
I don't know. The WADA stuff is pretty the Olympic athletes testing is way more stringent than any other professional sports.
It
is
right.
It's kind of hard to get around the WADA guidelines in the Olympics. Now I understand that people are doing it, but
if you talk to Broderick Chavez, he might have a different viewpoint because he has regularly and often worked with Olympic athletes.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, interesting. Well, the funny thing is too, somebody pointed out to me the other day, Gonzo, so it's sort of enhanced. So very true. What someone pointed out to me the other day, and it's probably like, it was a bummer kind of listening to that because they were right, is the best athletes with the best genetics are already going to be in the Olympics, and the superpower we all know is genetics. So even if Usain Bolt is drug-free, let's just assume he's drug-free. He's a freak. No one's beating him on a race with any amount of compounds in my book. I mean, so already the best athletes are already over there. You know what I mean? They're already you might be right,
kinda-
Tom. It may not be so amusing at the end of the day.
It kind of feels to me like saying, okay, the natural bodybuilding federations can now use medically approved PEDs at a safe level. Okay, the best bodybuilders are still going to be in the IFBB.
Very true. Yeah. That kind of, when someone mentioned that, I go, damn it, you're right. I guess we're not going to see anything but really fast, like people that just got off the couch,
Yeah, I think it's going to be a moneymaker for the general populace who doesn't know anything about this world, who they think, oh, these are genuinely the only enhanced athletes, and the ones in the Olympics are all natural.
Yeah.
They're going to get excited. They're going to pay for it.
I'm probably still going to watch it just to see what it's all about. See if somebody's got a bunch of back knee or something that's just dominating.
People suddenly using a bunch of steroids who have no idea how to use them.
Yes. Kind of like today. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see. I got a couple of questions here. We don't have much from the live today, but I know I got some in my notes I'll find here after. But Josh had a question here, kind of a silly question for us, but would you rather have a lot of weird clients who pay well, or coachable clients who, hey, the check is in the mail, guys, kind of person? So I get what he's saying. Do you want the coachable clients, but that are a little bit off, a little bit weird, or would you deal with people that just pay and you get half the performance out of them? I guess it's like, which headache are you feel like dealing with? Kind of scenario, kind of a weirdo, like coaching Mike versus coaching like, Josh, who will show up like once in a while for me. I'd actually take I'll take the weirdos, because there's just something about full effort that gets me amped. Like, that's my passion, is people that are like, like, I might not be the best, I might not be the strongest, I might not be the fastest, and they understand, they're realistic with their goals. Like, they're realistic, understanding, like, I'm not going to be Mr. Olympia, but they're willing to work. They're willing to pick up their pennies to create a dollar at the end of the day. They're willing to put in that time. And that's what gets me up and at it, as a coach. I don't know. Maybe that's just me. I mean, I understand it's a business. You want to make money at it. But you want to enjoy it too. And probably my most enjoyable clients, I'm not really worried about the paycheck. I'm just worried about keeping them on and making sure that we're getting the progress we want. Like, that's what gets me up in the morning.
And that's going to get you more good clients in the future.
Yeah, exactly.
Very true.
And my clients are on Stripe, so they get auto charged after they sign up. So I don't worry about checks in the mail. If they want to stop paying, they have to cancel, and in that case, they're not coached anymore.
What about you, Austin? If you had to deal with, because you're also coming from the background of, you're hoping people are being as compliant as possible, because you also come from like the hormone coaching aspect. So like, you could care less about something weird you want for compliance, so you can actually get your work to metastasize. You know what I mean?
Well, sometimes you can't, sometimes people do make decisions, and, you just have to, they have to learn from you and what you did. And that's that's it, basically, because like, as a coach, where, nobody gets, nobody really thinks about it really, but it's almost like, where do you draw the line between freedom of speech, advice versus care? It's just how it goes. It's how it is. Like, I feel like it has to be said. But
some of our fun clients are the weird individuals that are just like 100% into their sport. We've had one
compliance.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I want people who want to be interested in what they're doing with me. So that's all I've had. I've had super low volume. That's kind of what I was saying earlier, like the rare cases and things like that, or the stuff that like I would want to be doing with myself as an experiment, but with the other people. So, stuff that it's just fresh, I guess. Like, so compliance is required there. Otherwise, it's not, it's just a job at that point.
Yeah. Well, I look at it too as like it's my work. So whoever my work also, like your results are my work, right? So like I kind of want to see the fruits of my labor too. So I'll go with anyone that's, just like I tell people, like I'll really work with anyone as long as you're willing to apply your fair effort. I really don't care where we're starting, and I really don't care what the goal is. I had one person that our goals changed over the time of us working along with them, and we dropped. I'm trying to think of his name. He's from Texas. There, anyhow. I wanted to give him a shout out. I'm sorry, I forget his name. It's on the tip of my tongue. Daniel. Our goal was with Daniel, middle-aged guy. I think he was, I want to say 45 range with kids, and he was a landscaper. He worked his butt off, like every day, 7 days a week, sun up till sundown in the Texas heat. And all he wanted to do was just be more capable and lose some body fat. Like he had probably 80-ish pounds to drop. And we ended up losing all the body fat, but he wanted to be more capable so he could actually like go out and throw the football with his kids. He could actually like go on the bike rides with his kids. And this was a guy that was coming from like Ironman background. Like he had done some pretty extreme Ironman competitions. And the fun part was with him, it was our goals changed all the time. We started challenging him after we were knocking down goals. I'd send him like a listing in his area saying like, hey, there's a mountain hike, like a timed 5-kilometer mountain hike near you. You want to do it? And he'd just get amped up and be interested in saying, yeah, that's the goal. Let's circle it on the calendar. That was so much funner than getting gold medals with people in other aspects that just, I don't want to be rude, but like maybe the sport came easy to them. And it was just like, show up and you get your reward. Because there's some freaks out there that happens to. And I would just get my enjoyment a lot more by working with people that just applied 100% effort and reasonable. Like I didn't want you to give up your time with your wife. I didn't want you to switch your job so you could eat on the job. I just liked people being problem solvers and finding out saying, I'm not going to be told I can't do something. Like I can find a way to eat at work. I can find a way to be successful. And that's so gratifying. And then getting a health factor covered, like maybe we cured his type 2 diabetes, or which I think happened with Danny, different things like that. That's just so much more fun. So
it's really cool when you like have someone where you see the fire in them just getting brighter and brighter, and they just get more motivated and more motivated, all because of like the influence that you're giving them, and they're just getting stoked through the process. It's always awesome.
Yeah, I still have a fair amount of clients on my list that I have just coached for free and still coach for free because they've just been fired up to do a thing. And they're weight loss clients, and they're bought into their success, so I am too.
Yeah.
I was just thinking too, like as coaches, we got into this because there was a set of things we enjoyed doing, like what Dave was mentioning last week about different factors you can adjust with cardio. Like it's so intuitive to just think duration, increase it, frequency, increase it, but different intensity spots and things like that, you're not going to build the skills that we keep building as coaches without compliance to some degree. So
it's an art.
Yeah. Like, and if people are wondering, like, how do you get this knowledge of doing this? You get it by doing that. So like, it's just a matter of a coach is somebody who's just done this over time with a lot of people. Basically.
It's the same way as like a really good mechanic who just like stays in the garage and works on and like knows every in and out of every part of any like machine that they look at. And it's like anybody else would just look at a car on a service and be like, okay, this is the engine, these are the brakes, you just change this out. All right, no. Like the mechanic actually has the understanding of the art of the machine and how everything works together, and can actually look at it intuitively and just know what to do. It's a very similar concept.
Yeah.
Lots of trial and error.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, because you learn to like think on the. Yeah, it's funny you say that, because I went from no mechanical background to the job that I grew up doing. you quickly learn how to fix things, all sorts of things that you've never even popped the hood on. You're like, I got to get it running today or we're losing 10 grand. You know,
Yeah, just because you understand, like once you understand the concept and how the machine works, you know, you do anything with it.
Yeah, and sometimes you got to ad lib. Like I've had things Jimmy rigged to get us through the day. I've had things where normally you need a certain tool to fix a certain problem, but you don't have it. So you got to figure out how am I gonna hold the engine block up with one man, myself, and all we got is some 2x4s and all the wrong tools. So sometimes you learn from mistakes too. And I think some people are not ever willing. I find a lot of coaches never willing these days to admit when they're wrong. And it's like, dude, that's a learning lesson. Like, own it. Say, you know what? I learned something great from this, and it's not going to happen again because I'm going to let it sting for a little bit. And I'm going to learn, you know, just kind of take in a new skill. I have no shame in saying I learned probably half of my coaching knowledge from making mistakes with myself and with my own clients. Plain and simple.
People mess up on the job all the time in every job. It's not a huge deal.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Learning opportunity.
Absolutely.
Sure.
Anywho,
chances are the client like doesn't even know that you messed up because your level of knowledge is probably so much farther above. They don't know the difference between the wrong decision or the right decision that you made. They just know, okay, a decision is being made for me. Let's try this. Like, they're not going to be like, they're not going to be like, oh, well, you made this one mistake, I'm firing you, because they probably have no idea about any of this stuff up here, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Josh, actually, does anyone specialize NCAA athletes who need to bulk without gear? John Heck would be the first one that would come to mind. You know John, right, Mike?
Yeah.
Works with Troponin. He's a great strength and conditioning coach. He was a former football player, athlete, worked with NCAA football players, I think for the Houston Texans. He knows everything in and out about the gear too, but he is definitely, if someone's in that scenario, I mean, some good bodybuilding coaches, we've coached college football players, pro hockey players that we have to work around, obviously having no gear, natural athletes, but that's the man I would go to. John Heck, Josh, he's asking.
It's what the heck on Instagram.
Yeah, and I think it's Chisel. What is it? Chisel and something on YouTube. I'll have to find it. I have one question I kept going over for like months. I just kept skipping it because I kind of thought it was a silly question, but let's hit this one because I feel bad I've been skipping it. If you could build a perfect bodybuilder in a lab, steal only one body part, where are you starting? Dorian Yates back, shoulders of Phil Heath, etc. So they're basically saying you're going to build the perfect bodybuilder, but you can pick one freebie, and it's going to be someone's body part. It's a silly question, but I just kept skipping it. I figured we'll end the night on that one.
Just like fantasy football for bodybuilders.
Yeah,
Right.
I'm taking Dorian back.
I would say, I don't know who I would say, but I'm choosing whoever has awesome legs. His legs are like what I, had to fight for the most.
Yeah.
My upper body came pretty naturally. So
yeah, I'm choosing somebody with a tiny waist.
You put a name though. Like if you had to pick one, are you talking like Samson Dowda, like proportional, or are you looking for just the smallest? Get a measuring tape, smallest.
Proportional for sure. Samson Dowda's one. Keon,
Keon for sure.
Oh, that's tough because think about it, Mike. If you could start with, if that's a good one, Tanya. If you could start with a tiny waist and it never changes, there's a lot you can do.
That's a perfect canvas.
Justin Shire's another good example of that in the open. And then now Naga, his waist is like nothing.
Yeah.
He talks about being an ex-fat kid. I'm like, wow. Like he's got like 26-inch waist.
Yeah.
God.
I don't know if I'm exaggerating. I don't know if that's what his actual dimensions are, but it's ridiculously small.
You know what 212 guy I like is I don't know his last name, but Dean the Great White.
Yeah, Dean. Yeah, I think it's Dean White is his last name. Yeah, he's good. What is he? You like his just makeup or?
Yeah, just he has a really good flow. He's got that small waist, that good X frame.
Yeah.
Just he's a really big 212 guy. Like I don't know how tall he is. I'm pretty sure he's decently short, but
I think I'm just gonna go with Platz's quads, just because if you could have a one in a lifetime body part, you think of things, right? You go, like the Ronnie Coleman and the Dorian backs, those are like kind of iconic when you talk bodybuilding. Lee Priest arms, you know what I mean? And like Phil Heath on the shoulders. But if you could get something that some guys can't work for, like some dudes try everything, they do all the right things, they're dead on 100% diet. They're using all the super subs that they need, but there's just some people that the quads, even if the size comes along, it doesn't like fit like that. Maybe that was, we just saw him at the Arnold, former Mr. Olympia. Justin Harris coaches him. Curry, Brandon Curry. He was one that was knocked for a while that had all the size in the quads to a point, but they just never really flowed or looked well. And he's starting to kind of come together. I mean, this is me knocking a former Mr. Olympia, but does that make sense? Like if you could have Platz's legs and just kind of start there, man, frequency of training is totally different. You could recovery aspects are different. Start in the tree trunks,
Yeah, I mean, Andrew Jack's a real good example of that too, because he's such a tall guy, and it's just it's hard to look like you have big legs when you're that tall, when you're standing next to a little fire hydrant, 5'7" dude. But the detail in him is just ridiculous. Like when you look at his quads, how many people have lines like that?
I like how Josh with Salt goes, Wesley Visser's voice and accent.
I love it.
Even more so than Arnold. I don't know, man.
That's funny. Anyhow, what about you, Austin? Did you have one? I forget. You might have said it.
No, man, I would agree with you guys and the picks you said. Like
I feel like Dorian,
I wanted to shout out one of my friends. So I was just trying to think of like a random name who I can say his body part. That's that person.
It's Dorian's a close second for me. If you could start with like a worldly back, or then again, it's like, do you want his conditioning too? Like I guess you could probably throw conditioning as a factor in there. But I'll take Platz's legs. That's the thing that I had to work the hardest for myself, was getting some decent legs, and they're finally coming together at 36 years old. So I'll take it. If I could have had Platz's legs at 26, I would have definitely took it. I would have gave you all my toes for that.
Same.
I'm having to Google Platz's legs right now because I just don't remember.
Oh, Platz, yeah. There was just something about the way they flowed too. Pull up a quick picture of him. Tom Platz.
Yeah, he got a freaky shape.
And he wasn't like disproportionate either. Let me see. Let me pull it up here, and then we'll.
Yeah, that's crazy. But that's the same thing that I'm talking about with Andrew Jack, though. It's just detail that other people's legs don't have.
Yeah, like this is pretty nuts. Look at him at his older age too.
I can't see it.
You can't see? Can you guys see this?
No.
Put on Yeah.
Oh, I know what I did. Mike already knows what I did wrong. There we go. Right here. So Tom, this is him at 68 years old. Look at those.
That's crazy.
quads. Yeah.
I love it.
Insane.
I love how he's in a suit.
Look at this. This is this one on the left has got to be AI, but this is a real picture. His hamstrings. I've seen this. This is up at
That's a famous picture.
Yeah, Armbrust in Denver. They have this one hanging on the wall. I see it on YouTube. That is insane. You know how many wellness girls would kill to just have a backside like that? That's insane. Yeah, I'll take that. Dorian can keep his back. I'm taking that for sure.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna bend over in front of random people all day long if I have to. I'd be wearing short shorts. There's no sweatpants at all.
Nothing's better than when you do bend over like in public or something and somebody's like,
Yeah.
"Oh my God, your hamstrings."
Right.
I've gotten that a couple of times. I love that shit.
Tanya bends over just a little extra slow, hoping somebody's going to catch
That's a good opening line.
it. Right. Yeah, check out these hammies. Anyways, well, hey, I appreciate you guys hopping on and listening to me bitch and complain for a minute. That was nice. We got that.
We love
That
it.
saved Jackie a little frustration for the night. I got that
We're
off my
here for
chest.
it. We're here for it.
I know you guys are always there for me.
We're happy to mediate.
Awesome. I'm glad you got to come on. Do you want to do you mind telling everybody your YouTube channel and your IG? I'll make sure we get it in the description, but if you can give everyone a heads up, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, it's Parabolic33 on Instagram, and my YouTube channel is the same, but without the underscore on it. You can there's some content there you can check out.
Yeah, you get a lot of good interviews, different people from all different walks of kind of the industry, which is pretty cool that you know, you're not just sticking with athletes or coaches, you're kind of getting a little bit of everybody on, and that's great. So that is actually, I do have it all in the description. So anybody that wants to check out Austin's socials between IG and YouTube, check those out down below. I got everyone else, Mike and Tanya got their socials and Mike's YouTube down below as well. Tanya actually has a bunch of great stuff in your, you got a few ebooks you wrote, I noticed. Is that right?
I just have the one right now, the Habitual Excellence ebook, kind of goes over like it's originally was supposed to be around just like sleep and digestion stuff, but it ended up just kind of being like all around recovery, how to really dig into the weeds of like optimizing your 24-hour habits to get better sleep, better digestion, recover better, manage all those things. It goes into the weeds about like sunlight exposure and, you know, unplugging stuff in your bedroom when you go to sleep and why that actually matters. And, you know, talking about why grounding is actually a real thing that actually does benefit your health, you know, things like that, and kind of gives you at the end like a 24-hour breakdown of how to incorporate like little improvements in your habits to help support your circadian rhythm and your ability to recover and operate functionally or optimally throughout the day and sleep well at night. Kind of gives you a little practical breakdown at the end of that. So that's just $25. I got a link to that in my link tree on there.
Awesome. Yeah, you'll have to get me to that. Get me the Dave special, maybe.
I'll send you a copy for sure.
I'm just kidding.
No, I sent one. I sent one to Mike. I'll send one over to you too.
Then once I'll get it, and then it'll be up on Dave's LinkedIn for $21. In case anybody. Anyways, all right. Well, everyone, do us a favor. If I say this every time, but it's very important. If you watch my channel here and you don't subscribe, please do. It definitely helps me out big time. And just show us a little love with the comments down below and let us know what you want to talk about next time. We're in blank canvas here on Coach's Corner. And whatever you guys want to talk about, that's what we're going to get into. So, but until the next one, everybody be good. And you know the deal. Grip it and rip it.
Peace out.
Peace.